Infants sizzle on bronze altars. A dagger disappears into a king's swamp of flesh. A tent peg pins a fleeing general's skull to the ground. An abused woman is hacked into 12 bloody parcels and mailed nationwide. A strong man stacks 1,000 corpses with a donkey's jawbone, and a grieving father burns his only daughter to keep a reckless vow. Welcome to Judges, Israel's post-conquest reality check. In the last book before Judges, the book of Joshua, we watched Israel surge across the Jordan, conquer strategic strongholds like Jericho, divide the land among the 12 tribes, and renew their covenant at Shechem under Joshua's stirring farewell challenge. Choose this day whom you will serve. After Joshua died, the 12 tribes of Israel had no king, no capital, and no regular army. Old men at city gates settled small arguments, but the tribes still acted more like distant cousins than one nation. Across the hills, stone-walled Canaanite towns and tall wooden poles for the storm god Baal and his partner Asherah seemed to watch them. At harvest parties, people danced and did shameful rituals to wake up these fake gods. And in long droughts, some even laid babies on red-hot bronze altars, begging for rain. Farmers who only wanted good crops started copying their neighbors, and Israel's promise to follow the real God began to fade. So God let a harsh ruler named Cushan-Rishathaim conquer the land. When life grew unbearable, the tribes finally cried out for help. God filled a brave man named Othniel, Caleb's younger cousin, with his spirit. Othniel gathered fighters, defeated the enemy, and turned the people back to God. Peace lasted 40 years, but comfort made the tribes lazy again, and they slipped right back into idol worship. Moab, a kingdom east of the Dead Sea, took advantage. Its king, Eglon, made Israel pay heavy taxes. Eglon was so extremely overweight that he could barely stand without help. God raised up an unexpected hero named Ehud from the tribe of Benjamin, left-handed, which mattered because guards were used to checking a soldier's left hip for a sword, not his right. Ehud strapped a short, double-edged dagger inside his clothes on the opposite side so it stayed hidden. He volunteered to carry Israel's yearly tax payment to the king's palace at Jericho. After presenting the money, Ehud politely told the guards he had a secret message for the king. Once they left the room, Ehud said, "This message is from God," reached with his left hand and drove the blade deep into Eglon's stomach, so deep that the handle disappeared. Ehud locked the doors, escaped downriver, and blew a ram's horn in the hills of Ephraim. His call rallied an army that blocked the Jordan crossings and defeated 10,000 Moabite soldiers. The land rested for 80 years, but when Ehud's story faded to nothing more than a campfire legend, people again mixed Baal worship with the worship of the true God. Raiding bands from the north burned villages, and terrified families once more asked God for rescue. This time, God used a woman named Deborah, a prophet who settled arguments under a certain palm tree. She summoned a commander named Barak and told him God would draw Sisera, the general of a Canaanite king, into a trap. Sisera owned 900 iron chariots, like having the only tanks on the battlefield. Barak agreed to fight only if Deborah came too. On the day of battle, a surprise thunderstorm turned the flat valley into mud, stopping the chariots. Israelite foot soldiers charged downhill and won. Sisera ran to the tent of a woman named Jael, who seemed friendly, gave him milk, and covered him with a rug. While he slept, she quietly hammered a tent peg through his head. Deborah and Barak sang a victory song, and Israel knew peace for 40 more years. As time went on, fields grew full and barns swelled, but the Israelites would soon forget their God and build altars to Baal on every hill. Israel would once again have no king and do what was right in their own eyes. Israelite suffering would start all over again when, for 7 straight harvest seasons, Midianite nomads galloped in on camels, stole grain, and ruined vineyards. Many Israelites hid in caves. A young man named Gideon was secretly threshing wheat inside a wine press when the angel of the Lord greeted him with, "The Lord is with you, mighty warrior." Gideon felt anything but mighty and asked for proof. First, fire flared from a rock and burned up his meal offering. Later, he placed a wool fleece outside overnight. In the morning, the fleece was soaking wet, but the ground was dry. He asked for the opposite sign the next night. The fleece stayed dry while the ground was drenched with dew. Convinced, Gideon blew the trumpet and 32,000 men gathered, but God warned that such a crowd would steal his glory. First, Gideon declared, "If you're afraid, go home," and 22,000 left, with 10,000 still present. God held a test at a spring. Most soldiers knelt, dropping their weapons to drink while 300 stayed alert, scooping water with their hands. God kept those 300 so everyone would know the victory was his alone. Just after midnight, this tiny band encircled the Midianite camp. Each man smashed a clay jar to reveal a torch, blasted a ram's horn, and shouted, "For the Lord and for Gideon." The sudden fire and noise threw the enemy into panic. Midianites slashed at one another, and the rest fled toward the Jordan, where they were cut down. Sadly, Gideon later melted captured gold into a showy priestly vest that Israel treated like a lucky charm. After his death, his son Abimelech murdered 69 brothers, and the nation slid back into chaos. Abimelech's bloody coup left Israel splintered and vulnerable, the perfect target for the rising Philistine empire along the coast. Yet even while chaos reigned, God was already preparing the next deliverer. Long before Samson took his first breath, an angel appeared to a barren couple from the tribe of Dan and announced that their future son would be a Nazirite from birth. That meant 3 lifelong rules: never drink wine or eat grapes, never touch anything dead, and never cut his hair. They named the boy Samson, little son, hoping he would shine God's light on a nation groaning under Philistine control. As Samson grew, God's spirit stirred inside him like a rising storm. One day, while walking through a vineyard, he met a roaring lion. Without a weapon, he seized the beast and tore it apart as easily as peeling cloth, then walked on, as if nothing happened. Weeks later, he found honey bees nesting inside the lion's dried carcass. Scooping out the honey, he broke 2 Nazirite vows at once, touching death and eating from it, yet felt no guilt. At his wedding to a Philistine woman from Timnah, Samson turned the lion episode into a riddle. Out of the eater came something to eat. Out of the strong came something sweet. The 30 Philistine groomsmen couldn't solve it, so they bullied Samson's bride for the answer. When she gave them the secret, Samson erupted in fury. He captured 300 foxes, tied them tail to tail with fiery torches, and sent them through Philistine grain fields. Golden harvests became walls of flame overnight. The Philistines retaliated by burning his wife and her family, so Samson struck back again, this time slaughtering 1,000 men with the jawbone of a donkey. Proof that raw strength can be as dangerous as any sword. Samson's real weakness, however, wasn't physical, it was his desires. In Gaza, he spent the night with a prostitute, then ripped the city gates from their hinges and hauled the massive doors up a nearby hill just to boast. Later, he fell madly in love with Delilah in the valley of Sorek. Philistine rulers bribed her with silver to discover the secret of his power. Day after day, she coaxed, nagged, and wept until Samson finally confessed. His uncut hair was the outward sign of his vow to God. While he slept in her lap, she called a barber. 7 locks hit the floor. The spirit departed. Enemy soldiers burst in, gouged out his eyes, and dragged him away in bronze shackles. Blind and reduced to grinding grain like an ox, Samson seemed finished, yet his hair quietly grew. During a festival to their fish god Dagon, the Philistines brought him out as entertainment for thousands crowding the temple's roof. Led by a small boy, Samson asked to lean against the 2 central pillars. In a whisper he prayed, "Lord, strengthen me just once more." Muscles knotted, stone cracked, and the pillars buckled. The entire roof collapsed, killing Samson and about 3,000 Philistines in one thunderous moment. More enemies in death than in all his life. Samson's last act crippled Philistine pride, but left Israel leaderless. Without lasting devotion to God, the people soon slipped back into violence and idol worship, proving again that spectacular power cannot replace steady faithfulness. The repeated pattern is hard to miss. Israel forgets God. Trouble comes, they cry out. God sends a judge. Peace follows. And then the people forget again. Ehud's clever courage, Gideon's small but bold army, and Samson's raw power all show that God can rescue in amazing ways, but they also show that temporary heroes cannot change human hearts. Each time the judge died, the nation slid back into the same sins, because what Israel really needed was not just another warrior, but a faithful king and, even deeper, changed hearts that would stay true to God. The closing chapters plunge Israel into its darkest abyss. Micah's private shrine, featuring homemade idols and a hired Levite priest, symbolizes widespread spiritual compromise. When a marauding tribe steals these idols, idolatry gains broad legitimacy, marking total spiritual disintegration. Even more haunting is the brutal tale of Gibeah, where a Levite's concubine is violently abused and murdered. The atrocity sparks vicious tribal warfare, nearly annihilating Benjamin, forcing horrific measures to ensure tribal survival. This grim narrative vividly illustrates Israel's internal moral collapse, tragically demonstrating that without divine guidance, even God's chosen people rapidly become their own worst enemies. Throughout Judges, the repeated lament, "In those days, Israel had no king. Everyone did what was right in their own eyes," highlights humanity's desperate need for righteous leadership. Without alignment to divine justice, society inevitably spirals downward. Theologically, Judges powerfully emphasizes that spiritual compromise inevitably leads to societal collapse. The Judges' personal failings reflect Israel's collective moral deterioration, underscoring humanity's desperate need not merely for charismatic leadership, but for genuine spiritual transformation and divine alignment. Yet amid darkness, Judges persistently reveals God's relentless grace. Despite Israel's continual rebellion, God remains responsive, offering deliverance time and again. This divine patience foreshadows the emergence of a perfect, righteous king, one capable of true spiritual renewal, justice, and lasting peace. In stark contrast to Judges' chaos, Ruth's quiet faithfulness emerges, introducing hope and stability. Her story, occurring amidst Judges' turmoil, lays the groundwork for Israel's greatest king, David, and ultimately points toward Jesus Christ, humanity's ultimate redeemer and true judge king. Today, Judges serves as a stark, instructive mirror, vividly warning against subtle yet devastating moral compromises. In an age increasingly marked by relativism and compromised leadership, Judges urgently calls us back to absolute reliance on God's unchanging standards. It reminds us of the ease with which good intentions collapse without persistent spiritual vigilance, urging readers to honestly examine their hearts, acknowledge vulnerabilities, and consistently seek spiritual renewal. Ultimately, Judges confronts readers with a sobering yet hopeful reality. Humanity, left to itself, inevitably spirals downward, deeply needing divine intervention. Yet, even in the darkest days, God's grace shines powerfully, always ready to rescue those who genuinely turn back to Him. Judges encourages modern readers to continually pursue renewal through committed obedience to God's enduring truth and righteousness, always anticipating the coming of the true King who alone fully redeems human failure and restores genuine holiness.